Now I am fully aware that this is a very touchy subject for many Christians. So let me ask you right away to keep an open mind and let us discuss this. The shroud is so iconic because it represents what might be the only physical, tangible proof of Jesus Christ. It is the closest thing we might have to seeing the face of Jesus. For more than 600 years, it has waited locked behind glass inside a cathedral in Turin. The linen cloth known as the shroud has drawn millions of eyes, yet answered no one. Some say it wrapped the body of a crucified man 2,000 years ago. Others insist it is a medieval hoax, created to inspire faith or manipulate power. Scientists tested it, theologians debated it, historians analyzed it. This is the more big mystery, if you want to call him this way, in the sense that a lot of scientists tried in this last 1 century or has tried to replicate it. None of them succeeded. It is not just an artifact. It is a confrontation between what we know and what we fear might be true. Is it possible that this 14-t long linen cloth captured the greatest paranormal event of all time? When talking about the Shroud of Turin, we must remember that there is no scientific consensus on the origin of the image. There are many different opinions. The image is approximately 80 centimeters wide and 4 meters long. And this is important. It is not perfectly clear, as we can see, but some people claim that the figure has a striking resemblance to Leonardo da Vinci's painting of Jesus. Many people have come to see the shroud over the centuries. Some say they experienced miraculous healings or inexplicable emotional encounters. But this is all subjective. These are feelings and personal experiences. Nobody can prove them scientifically. The scientific methods previously used, such as radiocarbon dating, microscopic analysis, and pollen identification, were unable to reach a definitive conclusion about the shroud's origins. But now comes a new study that suggests that AI can shed light on this mystery. A researcher at the University of British Columbia, Jason Farman, conducted a groundbreaking study by creating a 3D model of the Shroud of Turin using AI algorithms. In fact, Professor Farman used artificial intelligence to reconstruct the face of the man buried in the shroud, and it looks nothing like Jesus Christ, but rather an ancient Jewish man from the 1st century. We can actually see the beard and we can see the hair. It looks like a typical Jewish person from that era. And that leads us to believe that maybe it is really a burial cloth from that era. And then why do we see the face of a man on the cloth? Well, we don't know, because as Professor Farman admits, his work opens up more questions than it answers. And this is what keeps the mystery alive. In addition to the image of the man, researchers also identified several unexpected elements. According to Professor Farman, the marks on the shroud may not be wounds, as many have assumed. He explains that the faint markings often interpreted as bloodstains are actually indentations caused by plant fibers. This finding challenges the traditional belief that the image was painted or stained. It suggests instead that the shroud may have captured the imprint of the crucified man's body through a natural process known as bioimaging. Bioimaging is a natural phenomenon where the cells and fibers of a plant leave an impression on fabric similar to the way a leaf might imprint its shape on soft clay. However, this explanation raises additional questions about how a linen cloth could retain the imprint of a crucified man's body for over 2,000 years. So we still have to wait until further studies help us understand this. Despite this remarkable discovery, I would like to mention that the academic community remains divided. Some experts argue that the images created by AI are not accurate representations of the shroud. They claim that the algorithm has produced a composite image based on preconceived notions of what the image should look like. However, this argument overlooks the fact that AI has analyzed millions of images of ancient Jewish men from the 1st century, giving it a broader understanding of the cultural norms and physical characteristics of the time. It is also worth noting that the algorithm has produced a realistic image of an individual that is consistent with historical records and archaeological findings. There is much more to consider. First, let us look at the text provided to the AI. Professor Farman admitted that the team gave the AI algorithm a lot of misinformation, including descriptions of the Shroud of Turin from unreliable sources. They also fed it images of Jesus Christ painted by European artists from the 15th century. All of this to test the algorithm's ability to separate fact from fiction. And what did AI produce? A realistic image of a Jewish man who could have been crucified during the Roman occupation of Israel. Therefore, we cannot ignore the possibility that the algorithm has successfully sifted through the layers of misinformation and religious iconography to reveal a more authentic representation of the shrouded man. On the other hand, critics argue that the study ignores the lack of direct historical evidence linking the shroud to Jesus Christ. However, it is important to note that the shroud is one of the oldest artifacts associated with Jesus, having been mentioned in historical texts dating back to the 14th century. While there is no explicit mention of the shroud in the Bible, it is possible that the Gospel accounts may have alluded to it. The Gospel of John states that after the crucifixion, Joseph of Arimathea requested permission to take Jesus' body down from the cross and wrap it in linen cloth and place it in a tomb. This description closely matches the discovery of the shroud and the burial practices of the time. Period. Ultimately, whether or not one believes the shroud is authentic, it remains a fascinating artifact that has captivated the world for centuries. The study serves as a reminder of the shroud's enduring mystery and the possibilities that lie at the intersection of science, technology, and faith. What are your thoughts? Do you think that what AI has discovered is the truth? Remember that AI is only as good as the data it is fed. Could it be that the shroud is a real burial cloth and not a fake? Let me know in the comments. Thank you.